this door gap, this line right here, is a little wavy. We've got some inconsistencies in my metal work here that I'm not fond of. I plowed forward with getting major fitment done and getting into blocking it, and I got ahead of myself. That's all it boils down to. Poor project planning. You can see that line. That line's not real true. It gets fatter right in here. I've got some metal work here because I had to flay this and lay it open because of other issues. I debated I could tack and grind, and tack and grind. That's a lot of heat to be putting into these parts. And I got them really close doing that. I got them within the realm of reason doing that method. I actually had to grind down edges, add filler strips in, split the flange on the skin. This car was a wreck when I got it. From what I understand, there were 8 other people that tried their hand at metal work, and it was a bad deal for this owner. What we're going to do is we're going to make this seam straight with lead. Lead's a little old school. You can use a lead-free body solder as well. But my premise for using it on this automobile, one, it's a 1955, so it fits error correct, really. The bigger reason is wing to door, these gaps right here. If I were to use, let's just use long strand fiberglass, or let's use make a paste of fiberglass mat and resin, or short strand, or body fill, any of the plastic, polyester type fillers on these edges, it's going to crack. You slam the door once, it'll crack. Door ding, you'll blow off big chunks. Lead, it's going to expand and contract relative the same rate as steel, so you're not going to have issues of it delaminating later in these areas of application. And it's not just going to chip or flake away. Now this is the other side. This is what I was talking about, getting it a nice, even, that's basically perfect. It leveled out well. The process I have to go through after this is I actually have to clean this up, and I'm going to contaminate whatever I'm using, so it's going to be disposable. It'll go in a bag and go away. Alright, I also, since we are broaching the subject of lead, I kind of want to show you what happens when things don't go right. I'll always press, do better as you learn better, so forth and so on, but when you're working on a car, get the metal work as straight as you're capable of doing, either via skill level or time allotment. We started on this car, we're back, we're still on this little Healey, but I want to show you an area of concern, okay? Alright, this is the area of concern. I've actually got it labeled because there was a helper in here doing some blocking and miscellaneous when we decided to take steps backward. Now, there's lead all through this. There we go. There's lead all through this upper wing. And it's stable. It could stay there forever for all I care. However, we're running into this. If you look down this, you see this, it puckers out right here. If this were corrected, if the metal work were corrected, brought back to level, they just packed it full of lead. Literally, there's probably 2 pounds of lead in this area. Some spots it's about that deep, not a half inch, but probably 1/4 to 5/16 deep in this area. They just filled it with lead at some point down the line. Well, what I'm running into, you can see a high spot. This is supposed to set relative to flush. Low spot. But no matter what I do, because it's dinged right here, it's actually pulled this whole section out. If I pulled the lead and relax this, it would pull this back down into position. So I'm probably going to have to go to the owner and get the time to pull the lead out. They didn't want to pull that lead out previously because of time concerns more than anything. But you can see where it's bit us. Again, there's some better project planning that could have gone on. It didn't. This is where we're at. This is what we're dealing with. So, you can see it pucker. It's a problem. All right, I'm going to get set up, and we're going to get this other side tinned in and ready to go. All right, we're back. This is the panel in question. It's cleaned up. It's ready to go. I'm going to flash here the supplies required real quick. All right, we're going to show you materials required. I got my 50/50 flux, my tallow. I got an acid brush there for my flux. I've got my lead supply. That's way more than what I'm going to need. I got a means to light my turbo torch. I strongly suggest you take the idea of a lighter, throw it out, and use a striker. Mishaps occur. You blow up lighters in your hand. It's a bad deal. I've got a scrap of 36 grit sandpaper. So there's some stubborn areas that I want to clean up maybe. I can use that. I've got a good old, 9-tooth file, flat file. And I've got a rounded file. I've got a wire brush in case. I got my paddle. Seen a little bit of use. I've got my cloth. That's what I use to wipe down the panel when I'm tinning it. And I got a fresh pair of gloves. Again, I don't keep the gloves in the bin with everything else. And you can see I've repaired the area. I've actually propped this door open and I've got rid of the striker plate. That striker plate was going to become a problem. It's mint. I don't want to destroy it. I've just got a block of wood to prop this door open. Let's go over here real quick. This is my setup. I have my propane turbo torch. I'd like to get a smaller one, but this came to me by way of a hand-me-down, so I was very, very happy with that. It works well. I just have to monitor the heat, how much I'm throwing. This is the cabinet that I've put together just for doing lead. It's got a little pedestal on the side where I can strap my tank. Using a turbo tank without oxygen and acetylene, a lot of guys will use oxygen and acetylene or little hobbyist torches. They all work. This is very cost efficient for me, and this torch, that torch setup I think is, you can get them new for just over $100, and it's got various heads to it. If you look at this one, it's actually there. It's actually a quick connect head, and I can get different heads for this. So I'm going to look for a different head that's smaller, so I'm not throwing out quite as much. This is an old crummy Task Force, $50. But I got lead. There's 1, 2, 3. I got about 5 pounds of lead left. I'm gonna have to order soon. That's where I keep my brushes, my tallow, incidentals, paddles. I've got various paddles. That's a rounded one. All this is relatively affordable to get into. It's not a terrible gift. Again, it's a crummy old cabinet. I keep all my files down here. But I put it on wheels. Made a pedestal for the propane tank and hooks to hang my hose by. This is what gets me by. This is how I do my lead work and how I prefer to work. We've got all the materials laid out here. I've got red rosin paper laid out on the floor. What we're working on, we're going to work in this area right here where there's some marginal metal work that needed to be better that isn't. And it's not going to be better. It just is what it is. That's what we're going to work with. Now I've got some areas down here. Get a light clean up better. Pretty pleased with that. So we're going to throw our gloves on because the flux I use has lead in it. The flux I sell has lead in it. The leaded body solder kits that I'm starting to get the inventory put together to sell. It's got lead in it. This particular one is a pretty old tin, and if you look, if you look at it, it's at the end of its life. This stuff, when you get it, get like a steel rod or something and stir it up real well. And that'll help a ton. Because all the lead that's in the flux, it settles to the bottom. It's supposed to be a lot more paste-like rather than goo. This will work. This is the last project I'll do off of this tin. Because it's crumbly, it's not as fluid as it should be. It is doing its job, but it's becoming problematic. See how grainy it is? Again, it works for today. I wish I had a fresh new tub. The next one's on its way. I'm just now working on the inventory for the supply company. So what the flux does is it creates the mechanical bond to the metal, to the steel, and it allows the lead to stick there. If you don't tin it, and they have fluxes that are acid or that are lead free, and then all this is acid based. Don't ever forget that. All of this is acid based. I'm going to get around this corner because right here, this corner dips back a little bit. So I actually have to bring it around the corner a little in these areas, and I want to be able to get this edge corrected. So you can hear it crumbling. This paste is just about done. Like I said, it does the job. I'm not happy with it. Here we are. See, it's just getting too crumbly. Okay, that's pretty much the area that I wanted to deal with. Now we'll get to where we're closing and opening the door, checking our gaps more diligently. Yeah, this paste is worse than it was last week when I did the other side. It's just done. Alright. Mind you, everything, all my leavings, all my drippings are going on the floor, on the mat that I've got set aside for this. So, again, it's a quick connect. This is a dandy device. It's a turbo torch. It's the original article. So we crack the valve. What I do is I back this down so right before it fails, because it's got such a big orifice that it throws off more heat than I really want. I need to get a different torch tip, but until then, here we are. Now you take and you just heat this. It's taking a little while, but once it starts going, it really goes. See how it's turning bright silver in these areas? And I'm going to end up affecting this area a little bit with the heat. It's not going to hurt anything. And a lot of guys will start at the bottom, work their way up. This is what was convenient for videotaping. See the heavy lead content in the flux. It's literally falling out of the flux, and that's okay. It's not hurting anything. It just shows you that my container of flux needs replaced. And the metal will expand and crack a little bit. Don't worry about it. As long as you're not going crazy with the torch, it's all going to relax back to relative. Keep the heat moving. Don't focus it on one spot because you're going to cause yourself a lot of problems. And when you have to move the torch away from your workpiece, make sure you know where you're moving it. Don't aim it at a tire, aim it at your air hose, at your feet, whatever. That's another reason to clean the area up really well. I actually had a hose and it was laying off the side quite a ways, but as you know, this is a torch, it gets hot. So the tendency is to move the torch tip away from you. I'm kind of gathering up the little rivulets of lead that fell off, getting them off to the side so I'm not pushing it around by accident. Now this is the lead itself. It comes in these little ingots, these little bars. I'm going to heat the lead up. I'm going to come back up here and start. I prefer to start at the bottom. And see how it's leaving lead behind? Now we're going to acclimate the two temperatures together. Because you don't want, the most important thing you won't need to know about lead is you don't want it running off the panel. You want to keep it plastic-like, putty-like. If it's running off the panel, what you do is you're separating the tin from the lead in the composition. And that will cause you bigger problems later. And just a dab will do you most of the time. You don't need a ton of lead on the panel to get where you're going. And I'll work these down by hand as far as I can, and then I'll get a pair of pliers. I'll grab a little pair of channel locks or a little pair of pliers. Now the notion here is to get the full amount of lead that you need for your panel on the panel. Because coming back and redoing it is a major pain. Okay, I gotta set that one down for now. I'll fish out pliers later. But again, you want to acclimate this lead to the temperature of the panel you're playing with. Otherwise, you're not doing yourself any favors. See how it's chalky? You want to take it just past that chalky sheet. Right there, it's real chalky looking. Get it where it shines up, it's starting to wet out. Because you have to put heat on it to tin it, then you have to put heat on it to let it, and then you're going to come back with the paddle and put more heat on it. So you want to very monitor the amount of heat you're throwing into your panel. If nothing else, so you don't have a big puddle of lead on the ground at your feet. This is a vertical panel. Obviously that ups the difficulty level marginally. I like working from the bottom up because heat does rise, and I've found that I have a lot less issue picking lead up off the floor. And I'm not going to say I'm a seasoned veteran, but I've pushed enough pounds of lead. Another good resource for this, and I try not to push products or anything like that too much if nobody's paying me to do so. Alright, now I'm taking, you can't see it, but I'm off the screen here. I'm taking the torch to my little tin of tallow, and I'm wetting the bottom of my paddle. And what that does, it keeps the lead from sticking to the wood paddle. Now I'll start down here, and I just kind of play a little bit at a time. See? That wasn't quite warm enough when I put it on the panel and it fell off. But I'd rather have it not quite warm enough than really slaughter the panel with heat. I'd rather pick up a few grams of lead off the floor than an entire pound. And when you're paddling the lead, you don't want to sit there and wipe at it. You're not petting a cat. You actually take the paddle and you roll it into the lead from off panel, off the work area into the work, and you roll it. You're not applying a great deal of pressure. And then once you get it where you want it, you can pull the paddle around a little bit and really smooth it out. But you got to get it refined where you want it first. See that? It started running. I don't want that. See what happens is you separate the tin from the lead and it becomes a real chore to file. If you can keep it in this plastic state, you're doing yourself much more justice. I'm rolling from here where I need less lead, pushing it out. The paddle's dry. We're going to go back to the tallow. Because when you start picking up lead on the paddle, it becomes a problem. And that tallow is going to run down your panel. That's fine. It's animal fat is what it is. And you'll clean that up later. I'll show that also. I love showing how to do this stuff, but I also get a little sideways sometimes. I don't, I guess, perform to my best if I'm showing it off. I get very self-conscious. See, I'm kind of pushing it now. I'm not rolling it. I got it about the heat and consistency I want. And you just keep progressing up the panel. Heat rises, so up here it's going to take less heat. So you monitor it and you just put the heat on, pull the heat off, work it as you need it. Don't get carried away with the heat. Right now I'm just trying to kind of mash down these areas so I can start rolling it onto the panel again. got to roll it around the edge because remember this door gap was a little off. That's what we're working at today. We're not really working to correct body work. We're working to correct door gaps. This will not chip off and flake like plastic fillers of today do, which is the reason I went to this method. Less heat, no grinding. Now we got it pretty well where we want it. I got some area here I don't like, so I'm going to try to pull some of this excess down. Almost too hot. I don't know if you caught that. It started trying to run on me. There, I did take the paddle and just kind of scraped it along that edge. It corrected a lot of that edge. The refining on that edge I will do with the file. And if it doesn't file slick and clean and easy, you probably got it too hot. Now, there you go. You can kind of see how that laid out. That is not my best lay per se, but that gets us to the next. We're going to work on filing it down.